Good day again, everyone. We're here on a follow-up in creating a website, and we'll be discussing CSS rules and types. So CSS is cascading style sheets. If HTML puts structure for our web page's content, then CSS changes the way the content would look like. And here's our syntax for CSS. This one is what we call selector, which points to an HTML element we like to put our style on. This one's called property, which are like HTML attributes that focus on design properties. And this one's called value, which obviously is any possible value we can assign to the HTML element's CSS properties. So before we hit CSS rules and coding, we'll have a quick run through on CSS types. First is inline CSS. With this type, we put the style attribute directly on the HTML element, just like here with the image tag with the corresponding CSS code here. Second is the internal or embedded CSS. This type can still be found inside the HTML code, though this time it can only be put inside the head tag. It already has its own style tag too, where you can put your CSS code inside. Third is the external CSS. Obviously, this one resides outside your HTML code in a separate file with a distinct .css file extension. However, we have to put a link tag inside the head tag to literally link our CSS file as our style sheet. So this is where we left off from week 3 when we discussed HTML images and links. We are currently using an alternative to Notepad. This one is Visual Studio Code. On your Android, you can use Unwriter or TrebEdit or any Android app you've been recommended with that better suits you. So before we modify this one, let's try to run it on the browser and see what it will display initially. So there it is again, a text-laden web page with an image and a hyperlink. So now let's put some HTML lists here just to reinforce our last lessons here too. So first, let's include a heading here. And another heading here too. So let's put an ordered list here and an unordered list here. We'll also put some emphasized words here by putting an EM tag. There are already EM tags here for emphasized words here, modules, video of presentation, tasks. For this second list would be careful reading, so on. Save it, then start to refresh it. There you go. So now we're going to start on styling our web page and learn CSS rules along the way at the same time. So in here, we're going to use an internal or embedded CSS by putting a style tag here inside our head tag. So we'll put every CSS code we'll use inside this. So the first rule we'll learn is multiple style. This rule allows us to style as much CSS property that we'd like to change for a selector or HTML element. So let's try to put some style for our paragraphs. And paragraphs. So let's make it color green. And then let's make its font size 14 pixels. And let's make the font family to Arial. Save it. See, our paragraph here already color green. Font's bigger and it's no longer Times New Roman. Right. Second, we'll learn grouping selectors. This means that when we have two or more HTML elements or selectors that we want to have the same property changes, we just have to group them together with a comma as a separator in between each selector. So in our case, we'd like to have the same style changes for both H2 and H3. H3 and this one is H2. So we'll put the same style for both. So we'll just type H2 and H3 with just a space in between them. No, sorry. We have to put a comma. So let's put a color blue. Font size is 16px. And then let's put a border here. Solid blue border. Save it. Then refresh. Now we can notice here that both our headings, the H3 and the H2, are already blue. Fonts 2px bigger than our paragraph, and both of them have a blue border. So third, we'll learn the descendant selectors. We use this type of selector when we like to change the style of a particular HTML element, which can only be found inside a particular parent selector. So in our case, we'd like to change the style to a particular EM tag, which can only be found inside the particular parent paragraph selector. So we type the selector first, the parent would be the E tag, and then followed by the EM tag, which has only space in between them. So let's make it color red. Font size is 15. Let's also put a border here. Solid red. So again, refresh this one. There you go. So you can notice this, that only emphasized words, which can be found inside the paragraph, are already red. It says size 15px and have red borders too. So lastly, for now, we'll learn child selectors. This type is somewhat the same with our previous descendant selector, though this one targets the immediate inner element or its direct child element. So in our case, we'd like to change style to every EM tag, which are direct child of a list item that are only found within unordered lists. So this is our ordered lists. So in our case, we'd like to change this EM tag, the EM tags here, which are direct child of a list item, which are only found within the unordered list. There you go. So this is how we type it. We begin with the parent selector, and then we'll put a angular right bracket, and next would be the li, or the list item, and then let's type the em tag, child element. So we like to color it green. Change the font size to 14 px, and put a border of solid green. Save. Now you can notice here that only these emphasized words, which can be found inside the list items of the unordered lists, are already green, size 14px, and has a green border too. So that's it for the week. I hope you've learned a lot. Have a good day and see you next week.